why we are interested in nanoscale infrared spectroscopy generally. And fundamentally, what we want to do is correct for a gap that exists between what you can do with atomic force microscopy and infrared spectroscopy. Seen here in this image of polystyrene and low-density polyethylene. On the left-hand side, we see what we can visualize with AFM, where we can get rich, high-resolution topographic data down to even single atomic resolution in some cases, as well as coupled mechanical, electrical, other properties. But you have no direct way to determine what the chemistry of this material is. On the other side, infrared spectroscopy provides chemical-rich information, but you're restricted by the infrared diffraction limit, which, when we're talking about the mid-infrared range, 2 to 20 microns, can be as high as 10 microns and as low as 1 micron. So you get this very large wavelength-dependent response, but also the minimum resolvable spot is still in the micron level pixel size. So that's not really applicable to many phase-separated materials or other types of materials that we're interested in looking at, which have nanoscale chemical structures that we want to be able to evaluate. For the general introduction of what we can see with mid-infrared spectroscopy, fundamentally what we can image is bond vibrations and phonon modes of materials. These bonds can be compared to lookup tables like this or infrared spectroscopy references that can be used to identify the material species and fingerprint structure arising from normal modes or ensemble bond vibrations. We can also look at inorganic species such as silicon films, phosphates, sulfates, and other types of materials. Another thing to note with mid-infrared spectroscopy is bonds are very sensitive to these local environmental changes, things like hydrogen bonding network or local crystallinity that can give you rich information, not just about what vibrational mode is present, but how that vibrational mode is arranged in a species. I also want to provide a basic introduction and intuition for how AFM works. AFM fundamentally operates by holding a very sharp probe close to a sample surface. And we can see the response of the AFM cantilever mapped out in this interaction curve in the bottom right, where as you bring the probe closer and closer, you first feel attractive van der Waals forces, which pull the probe into contact with the surface. And later, as you continue to get closer to the surface, eventually you start to experience positive forces, repulsive pushing forces against the probe. Notably, either of these domains, the pulling forces or the pushing forces, can be used with a photothermal AFM-IR technique. But these forces are fundamentally very small. They can be as low as piconewton forces, which are the estimated force required to break a hydrogen bond. So even though we have a probe very close to or touching a surface, this is fundamentally non-destructive measurement modality. The other thing is that AFM probes will have a mechanical resonance frequency associated with them because they're this mechanical beam that we're holding close to the surface. We can see here what two different mechanical resonance frequencies look like, and these have an associated quality factor with them, which is related to the frequency of the vibration as well as the bandwidth of this resonance. This is particularly unique because measurements that operate on this resonance frequency will get a signal enhancement related to this quality factor. So with that said, how photothermal AFM-IR works is fundamentally by using a standard AFM setup. We then couple in an infrared light source, which we pulse on the sample surface. If the sample absorbs at that frequency, it will take in that energy, release it as heat, and thermally expand. With each pulse, the sample will then relax back to equilibrium, and then the next arriving pulse will cause this process to repeat. We will then use the mechanical amplification, that Q factor of the cantilever, and pulse at the resonance frequency of the cantilever, which will cause the sample to vibrate and then the cantilever to ring. We can measure out that amplitude of the ringing as a function of the wavelength. And by taking the magnitude of that, we can get out an infrared spectrum. So herein, we're just plotting the amplitude of the signal as a function of the wavelength. And we just measure out that magnitude there. And that is fundamentally what is measured through photothermal AFM-IR.